The laughter from table 7 was loud enough to turn heads. It wasn't the kind of laughter born from joy, it was cruel, sharp, and laced with arrogance. Emma could feel their eyes on her as she balanced a tray of steaming plates, her smile trembling at the corners. She'd been a waitress for 6 years now, long enough to recognize the difference between kindness and mockery. But tonight, their words cut deeper than usual. "Careful, sweetheart," one of the men snickered as she passed. "Wouldn't want you to trip and spill that soup, though it might improve your looks." The others burst into laughter, the sound bouncing off the restaurant's polished walls. Emma swallowed hard, forcing her lips into a polite curve. She had promised herself she wouldn't cry at work again, not tonight, not ever. The restaurant, the Olive Grove, was full as usual, soft music, warm lighting, and the rich aroma of garlic butter and grilled salmon filling the air. It was one of the most popular spots in town. People came here for anniversaries, birthdays, and business deals. Few knew the story behind its success. Fewer still knew that the quiet waitress serving them every evening wasn't just an employee. She was married to the man who built the place from scratch, but Emma never told anyone. She wanted to be treated like everyone else, not given special attention because of her husband, Mark. She worked her shifts, stayed humble, and let others assume she was just another face in an apron. Tonight, though, that humility was being tested. The men at table 7 were regulars, 3 loud businessmen who thought money made them untouchable. They were used to snapping fingers for service, leaving tiny tips, and laughing at anyone they considered beneath them. And when they noticed Emma's worn-out shoes and slightly frayed uniform, she became their entertainment. "Hey, waitress," another one called, waving his glass. "You missed a spot. Clean it up before the owner sees and fires you." Emma bit her lip as she knelt to pick up the napkin he'd deliberately dropped. The laughter grew again, cruel and heartless. Her hands trembled slightly, not from anger, but from the effort to stay calm. She wanted to yell, to tell them she wasn't some nobody they could toy with. But she didn't. She just took a deep breath, smiled faintly, and walked away behind the counter. The restaurant manager, Julia, noticed Emma's expression. "You okay?" she whispered. Emma nodded. "They're just being themselves," she said softly. "It's fine." But Julia frowned. "You don't deserve that, Emma." "No one does." A few minutes later, the door to the kitchen swung open, and Mark stepped out. He wasn't in a suit tonight, just jeans, a casual shirt, and a disarming smile. Most of the staff knew him as the easygoing owner who treated everyone like family. He walked over to Emma, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Hey," he said gently, "you've been on your feet all night. Why don't you take a break?" "I'm fine," she said quickly, forcing a smile. "Just finishing table 7. Mark's gaze followed hers, and then his expression changed. His eyes hardened, his jaw tightened. He recognized those men. They were the kind of customers he despised the most, the ones who thought kindness was weakness. He turned back to Emma, his voice calm. "Go to the back for a few minutes. I'll handle them." Emma hesitated but obeyed. As she disappeared into the kitchen, Mark picked up the check folder from the counter and walked to table 7. "A gentleman," he greeted warmly, setting the bill down. "How was everything tonight?" The men looked up, surprised by his confident tone. "Food was great," one of them said with a smirk, "but your waitress could use some training." "Bit clumsy, don't you think?" Mark's smile didn't falter. "Oh? What exactly happened?" "Well," the first man leaned back, arrogant, "she nearly spilled my drink, forgot a napkin, and honestly, she doesn't exactly fit the image of this place. You should hire someone more polished." Mark's smile faded slightly. "I see." He paused, letting the silence stretch just enough to make them uncomfortable. "That waitress happens to be my wife." The table went quiet. The men's smirks froze in place. One of them chuckled awkwardly. "You're joking, right?" Mark shook his head slowly. "No. I'm very serious." He leaned forward slightly, his voice calm but sharp. "She works here because she loves this restaurant as much as I do. Because she believes in hard work, in kindness, and in treating every customer with respect, even the ones who don't deserve it." The men exchanged uneasy glances. The room seemed to shrink around them. Mark continued, his tone firm but composed. You came here tonight, laughed at someone who was just doing her job, and thought it made you powerful. But let me tell you something, how you treat people who serve you says more about your character than your bank balance ever could. The air around the table grew thick with silence. Even nearby diners had begun to listen. I don't want your money, Mark said finally. The meal's on the house tonight, but I'd suggest you take that as a reminder, not a reward. Without another word, he walked away. Emma, standing quietly by the kitchen door, had heard everything. Her eyes filled with tears, not of shame, but of pride. She didn't need to say a word. When Mark came over, she simply whispered, "Thank you." He smiled and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You never needed me to defend you," he said softly. "But I'll always stand by you." The men left in silence that night, their laughter replaced by guilt. For once, they couldn't hide behind their money or their pride. They had been humbled, not by anger or revenge, but by quiet dignity. As the evening wound down, Emma helped the team clean up. The soft glow of the restaurant lights reflected in her eyes as she looked around the place they had built together from nothing. It wasn't just a restaurant, it was a reminder that kindness and respect are the real signs of strength.